Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. And peace of blessings once again. And yeah, man, I got some just chopping it up for y'all today, man. Just chopping it up, having a few different topics that we gonna dive into. And as the title says, R.I.P. Larissa Thompson, McDonald's in Chicago, and Trump's pardons are deal. What? So, with that being said, man, I did a video yesterday, but dropped yesterday, talking about Larissa Thompson of Lancaster, North Carolina, who was unalived by six um, illegal immigrants that were they tried to rob her and ended up unaliving her. And she was 40 years old, a black woman, and the media is almost ultra silent on this issue. And I think it's because it doesn't fit their narrative, because this young lady was unalived by illegal immigrants. Had she been unalived by somebody white, we wouldn't hear enough of it. Black Lives Matter be going crazy. But liberal media is dictated to by certain entities that don't want you to look at illegal immigration as something dangerous, you know? So I got the footage here from a news clip that I found, and I want to bring that so we can get the full details. And once again, rest in peace to this young lady. She wasn't doing anything wrong, just minding her business, you know. And that's just a shame that the media is not trying to, you know, shed a light on this issue. And when we talk about the dangers of illegal immigration, these people wasn't even supposed to be here. 3 of them are minors, you know. So with that being said, let's get to it.
Tonight, 6 people, including teenagers, they're facing charges after a local mother was shot in her car. 40-year-old Larissa Thompson was shot and killed in her car off Riverside Road in Lancaster. The sheriff's office says the people arrested are tied to another crime as well, and because of their immigration status, they also now face deportation. WCNC's Charlotte Jesse Pierre is in Lancaster with the latest developments.
Larissa Thompson's life ended in tragedy, gunned down while she was driving down the road. Tonight, 6 people between the ages of 13 and 21 years old facing murder charges in this case.
People like this have no place in our society, and we will do everything in our power to make sure the full weight of the law is brought down on these 6 individuals.
6 people, including 4 teenagers, are behind bars facing multiple charges. The Lancaster County Sheriff's Office says, first, the group tried and failed to break into a convenience store, damaging a bathroom door and shooting up the security cam. Days later, they say that group shot and killed 40-year-old Larissa Thompson.
So let's stop that right there, man. This group of young illegal immigrants, 3 of which are minors, had already been vandalizing this particular community at this gas station and all of this stuff, man. So when we say, man, we have to vet the people that's over here, you know, just to make sure things like this don't occur from people that are not supposed to be here. If we can eliminate the majority of this activity, why not? This young lady wasn't bothering nobody. You know, 40 years old with children. You know, now somebody's a motherless child because of the actions of illegal immigrants that shouldn't have been here in the first place, because the last administration left the borders wide open.
Somebody lost their mom, their sister, aunt, mother. Just a tragedy. This person is out doing the same thing you and I do, just driving down the road, minding their own business.
The sheriff says Thompson was driving down Riverside Road on her way to meet friends when the group tried to rob her. He says 21-year-old Azael Torres Chirinos is the one who pulled the trigger, hitting Thompson, leaving her for dead in her car. Officials say none of the suspects are in the country legally and should not have had the gun.
They took the life of an innocent young lady, didn't have the right to be here, much less commit these crimes here.
Detainers have been placed on all 6. So if any of them were to become eligible for release, they would be taken into ICE custody. In Lancaster, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
All right. So, yeah, we can stop that right there, man. Sad situation. Sad, man. Sad, terrible tragedy that did not have to be a tragedy, man. If what we telling y'all, man, we telling y'all that when we say we stand on that with illegal immigration, we stand on that, bro. You know, and I'm not backing down from that because we got too many situations like this that have occurred over the past 4 years that the media doesn't talk about. You got these Lake and Raleigh situations. You know, a lot of these people may not be criminal, but a lot of them are. So we don't have the luxury to take chances with our safety in this nation, man, and that's just sad. And I'm gonna stay on top of that situation to bring y'all updates on it because I want to make sure that Larissa Thompson name is mentioned because it's just the same how they're not covering that. But you know, like I said, I started that off with wanting to give that lady her condolences to the family and rest in peace to her. It was an unfortunate tragedy. She driving down the street, somebody try to rob her and then end up unaliving her, senseless. But I want to pivot a little bit to the second part. McDonald's in Chicago are closing, in downtown Chicago. A lot of it is due to the crime. We got teenagers that are out here wilding out on any given Saturday or Sunday. There's no reason for it other than just kids just being lawless and doing nefarious activities. And we need some type of something has to happen, and something is going to happen eventually. And they terrorizing downtown like that. You get to a point where people are not even wanting to continue to do business here, even a franchise like McDonald's. But I think the main thing with McDonald's is that they're not, this is a sure sign that the economy here, the budget, everything's being raised, the taxes, the property, McDonald's is not making the money that they used to make. That's insane, bro. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, let's get this clip queued up so y'all can see what I'm talking about. McDonald's leaving Chicago, man. What a shame. Well, you got a few of them that's still here.
People who work in the Loop are often looking for a quick and affordable lunch. That includes us here at CBS.
Some of our colleagues noticed there used to be lots of McDonald's locations nearby. Check out all those golden arches. But one by one, you can see most have disappeared. So we sent our Lauren Victory to find out why.
These vacant storefronts sit just a block off Chicago's famous Michigan Avenue, a welcome greeting of graffiti. Are you getting tired of answering the question, how is the Loop doing?
No, not really, because I every day there's something new and improved.
Like the restaurant where the Chicago Loop Alliance's Michael Edwards met us. More on Memento in a moment. First, an assessment of the Loop's health.
First quarter of this year, 1 million people came down, $280 million in economic impact.
Downtown foot traffic on the weekends is even higher than before the pandemic. Consumers are coming, commercial tenants not as much. High rent doesn't help.
We tend to only bring in large retailers and national retailers, and many of them are downsizing.
One company that left a supersized hole downtown, McDonald's. There used to be one right here between Randolph and Washington. There's also nothing left of the Mickey D's on Adams. The Golden Arches on Clark, not there. No more Big Macs at this Loop location either. 4 McDonald's gone, within a 10-minute walk of each other. What is going on?
I think that would be a question for McDonald's.
Oh, we asked them, but got an "appreciate you reaching out" reply. Interestingly, McDonald's global headquarters is only about a mile from the Loop. Why are they hightailing it from their hometown? Again, no explanation from corporate. An outside source told us crime and tensions with the unhoused were a factor for at least one of the closures. The Illinois Restaurant Association had another theory.
I know that since 2020, restaurants have seen an increase of 35% labor costs, 35% purchasing costs, and almost 20% in fixed cost.
So, yeah. I just wanted to show that right there, man, because it's all about the taxes being raised. And people, when I talk about the $1 billion budget that one city, imagine that, one metropolitan city, as in Chicago, has $1 billion deficit by itself. That does not only affect the tax-paying citizens, it affects the retailers. And when you have one of the most, if not the most, popular franchise like McDonald's leaving the city, that's a sure sign that more will follow, you know. And eventually, man, Chicago is going to be losing a lot of retailers, man, because you got to pay this high rent, these taxes, all this increase due to the Brandon Johnson administration. You know, it's just insane, bro. It's insane. But we're going to see how that continues to plan out because, you know, I keep my eye on these local politics as well as the federal politics. Now, let's get to our third topic today. Trump's pardons idea. What? Now, if you don't know, we have a lady that was convicted back in the 90s. She was on the phone call and she got a life sentence. She served about 20-something years. And now Donald Trump pardoned her in his first administration. It's a black lady by the name of Alice Marie Johnson. And he made her his pardon czar in this administration, meaning that people that she feels are, you know, unjustly sentenced or unjustly imprisoned, period. You know, you could go through her to see if you could be eligible for a pardon. Because we know sometimes, and Trump knows because they did it to him, they weaponized the judicial system against targeted individuals, which is not fair. You know what I'm saying? And Kim Kardashian was the one that brought Alice Marie Johnson to his attention, and he pardoned her. Now, Judge Joe Brown said that this was a mistake and that Alice Marie Johnson should have stayed in prison. But before we get to that, because I rocks with Judge Joe Brown heavy, and I like this pardon czar, you know what I'm saying? So I'm neutral in my assessment of this situation. But just to give y'all a little bit of remembrance to have y'all jog y'all memory about Alice Marie Johnson, I got an interview here with Laura Trump and Alice Marie Johnson that was a few days ago. So just to jog our memory, let's tune into this interview.
Speaking of second chances, few embody that better than my next guest. She was once sentenced to life behind bars for a first-time nonviolent drug offense until President Trump stepped in and gave her the freedom she deserved.
She has been just so outstanding, and I'm so proud of you. And we're giving Alice a full pardon that means you can do whatever you want in life, and just keep doing the great job you're doing.
Now, Alice Marie Johnson is leading the charge as the president's pardon czar, working to bring hope to those still trapped in a broken system. I sat down with Alice to learn more about the road ahead for reform and why redemption matters more than ever. Alice, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Your story is so incredible. When you think back on all of it, I mean, it could be a movie script. It could be a book that people would say, this couldn't even be real. Do you pinch yourself sometimes thinking about all of it?
I do every single day that I walk into this building. I've gone from prison house to the White House. And it's just incredible to me that my life would take a full circle journey. 7 years ago, I was sitting in a prison cell.
I wonder what that project deadline was.
Wow. It is really remarkable. And then you're here today. You are President Trump's pardon czar.
Yes.
What does a pardon czar do? And how do you determine the people who you then take to the president and say, maybe you should consider a pardon for this person?
It's really easy for me because I've lived it. And so the president has entrusted me with this mission to help him find those people who deserve this second chance, who are similarly situated, not just like me, but who have served enough time, who have paid their debt to society. Plus,
now I want to stop that right there for a brief second, because I believe that, and you're going to hear Judge Joe Brown in a minute, I believe that from the line of questioning and the answers that she's giving, I believe that Alice Marie Johnson was guilty of whatever she did. Her level of involvement, though, did not warrant a life sentence. And I think that's why she was released. She had already served over 20 years. So whatever she did on the phone, it seemed as though she had paid her debt to society. Not to say she was innocent, but to say that this was overkill on her sentence, to give her a life sentence for a first-time offender for her level of involvement. But when we get to what Judge Joe Brown said, he gonna disagree. And like I said, I really rock with Judge Joe Brown, but we do have to keep in mind he is a judge, so he looks at things through a judge's lens on things. So, you know, but what he said is credible. So, yeah. Oh, snap. Let me bring that back. All right, well, let's continue. I don't want to talk your ears off.
plus there are those who have been, I'm going to say, the victims of lawfare, the same way our president was.
You were a first-time nonviolent offender.
Yes.
And you were given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Were you prepared for that sentence? And did you feel at all that what you had done warranted that?
Absolutely not. I was not prepared for it. And I definitely did not think that it was warranted. Never been arrested before. Never was criminally minded. Just a bad situation came into my life where, under duress, I made a very bad decision to become involved in something that I didn't think it would lead to this. I've never sold drugs. I've never used drugs. And to be labeled with even a queen pin, if I was the worst one in history. But thank God that my case came to the attention of President Trump, and he had compassion on me. He was the first one who really pulled back the layers to my case to say, this is wrong. I had appealed to President Obama 3 times and been turned down all 3 times.
Wow. Now, let's note that right there. We have to note that. This lady appealed to President Obama not once, not twice, but 3 times and was turned down. And one has to wonder why. You know what I'm saying? One has to wonder why. So I think we can stop that right there. You know, we get a gist of who Alice Marie Johnson is, and you know, her story and how she became the pardon czar for the Trump administration. Now, as I told you, I'm a big, huge fan of Judge Joe Brown. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, everybody ain't gonna always agree all the time. But the judge said that the Trump administration made a grave mistake in pardoning Miss Alice Marie Johnson. And here is his reasoning why. And this is gonna blow your socks off. You saw that lady look like a nice lady, you know what I'm saying? Seemed like a sweet grandma type lady. But Judge Joe Brown got a different account. So let's see what he's talking about.
Let's switch gears for this is absolutely the very last thing. And then
I don't want to deal with this Johnson matter.
And shout out to the real Dana with the data. This is her content.
Well, we are going to deal with it. It's just
the reason is I had at least 6 first-degree murder cases in my court where she was alleged to have taken the hit out because she kept her mouth shut in consideration of the Fifth Amendment. American law has a general provision that you cannot convict somebody on the uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice. Her lieutenants got prosecuted. The person that actually contracted to take the hit didn't. And she didn't either. But if you want to talk about crack babies and crackheads, allegedly she is responsible for most of that in the Southeast United States, from Florida, Chicago, from the late 1980s to the early 1990s.
Whoa! I mean, hold fast. Now, wow, that man just said a lot. And I'm going to shut up and get back to that. But he said this lady was putting out organized hits all the way from Florida through Tennessee up through Chicago back in the 90s. She is part and parcel responsible for basically the crack epidemic in the Southeast, in the Midwest part of the country. Wow, that is inflammatory, to say the least. So he's like, this lady is definitely a queen, was definitely a queen pin, and organized hits on people all over the country and is responsible for the crack epidemic, bro. Let's continue.
All right, so I want to play this.
She's now in charge of pardons for Trump's administration. She's out of prison, pardoned, and most of her second lieutenants are all still doing penitentiary time. When they busted her, it was for possession of approximately $87 million in cash for the equivalent of 9 tons of street value coke. And it was the 3rd largest bust in DEA history at the time, now the 4th, I think. But Kim Kardashian presented it to President Trump as some poor little old grandmother trying to sell a bag of cocaine to protect her house. There were a whole lot of houses that she and her folk were in possession of that were allegedly used to launder money. So it was a big time scheme, and I don't agree with what happened in this.
Let me play this clip.
To become involved in something that I didn't think it would lead to this. I've never sold drugs. I've never used drugs. And to be labeled with even a queen pin, if I was the worst one in history. But thank God that my case came to the attention of President Trump. And he had compassion on me. He was the first one who really pulled back the layers to my case and say, this is wrong. I had appealed to President Obama 3 times and been turned down all 3 times. But when it came to President Trump, he is the reason I'm sitting here today.
You got the same.
No offense, but if you're paying more than $50 per month on home insurance, you're getting ripped off.
To become.
So she says she never sold drugs.
I listened through 6 jury trials, first-degree murder, where we went in great detail toward what this woman did. Witness after witness, person after person who was trying to get out from under a death penalty liability for taking out contract hits.
Are you sure it was her?
Yes. Now, Kim Kardashian put this stuff out where it was just a little old lady, a grandmother. She was only 34 years old at the time, great grandmother age, so she was trying to preserve her house. We went into the whole financial background. There were homicides by her rivals. See, one rival was the money exchange, dope exchange for the Colombian cartels, and the other one was exchanging the money and drugs for the Mexican cartels. And this engine was driving the crack and cocaine epidemic from Miami all the way up to Chicago, to Atlanta, to Memphis, and other points. And it was hell going on in our communities. And the evidence that I heard implicated her and her rival on the other side. The thing that got in front of me that was the most profound was a sit where the other side was supposed to have had quite a few millions of dollars going through a safe house, a hit supposedly put up by her side to go raid this place. There were some people that worked for Krispy Kreme donuts who got kidnapped and stripped. The truck was hijacked. The uniforms were put on by allegedly her persons. They went in, and the mother for one of the other drug lords who supposedly had the money was a big fat woman who was known to have a craving for Krispy Kreme donuts. They offered the ploy that they had free samples. She opened up the ironclad doors, let them in. They jacked her up, jacked her husband up, tied them up. They took these pneumatic chisels to dig this safe out of the concrete. They only got a few $1,000s because they missed the millions by about an hour. They kidnapped the woman, took her, tortured her, left her dead body in the middle of a farm field down in Mississippi. The person that they were the person who was the target of this refused to cooperate with the police, had his organization go solve the crime, find mama's dead body. They wound up kidnapping some of her people, and allegedly her people, and they wound up not only kidnapping some of her people, they kidnapped her people's mothers, broke their mothers' legs in front of them, and while the mothers were screaming in pain, they buried them all alive under some coffins in a legit funeral, and they smothered.
What? Hold fast, bro. Hold fast. This ain't funny, but man, you see, all this stuff this man saying this woman was responsible for, I'm not going to play no more of that, man. Y'all get the gist of that, right? Lord have mercy. You talking about somebody Krispy Kreme donuts and buried alive and basically responsible for the crack epidemic in Chicago, of all places, on the way down to Memphis, to Florida, to Atlanta. And this lady was calling the shots, giving the hits. Now, what I will say is this. I respect Judge Joe Brown. He said he listened to 6 trials that implicated Marie Alice Johnson. and organized hits, people being unalive, the whole nine, crack epidemic. It was horrible. You know what I'm saying? But what I would say is she wasn't a part of 6 trials. She may have been implicated, but for her to have been sentenced to a life sentence, and let's look at what she was actually charged with. Now, I want to see what her charges were, right? So like I said, man, information is at our fingertips. You know what I'm saying? Alice Marie Johnson, who had her sentence commuted by President Donald Trump after she served 21 years in prison for cocaine trafficking, speaks during the celebration of the First Step Act in the East Room of White House. See, Donald Trump came up with the First Step Act. Joe Biden came out with the 94 crime bill. Joe Biden 94 crime bill, probably the bill that got her sent to prison for life. But the First Step Act is the one that released her. So in my other video from yesterday, I asked, name one piece of legislation that hurt black people that Donald Trump put in office. You can't name one, right? So let's see. What was Alice Marie Johnson convicted of? Johnson served 21 years of her life sentence after being convicted of drug conspiracy and money laundering in 1997. In 1993, she and 15 others were arrested on various drug and money laundering charges, according to a 2000 profile by Mike Johnson. So she was convicted of drug conspiracy and money laundering. This sounds like it was a large organization. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't nothing that one person had say so over everybody. You know what I'm saying? So although I understand where Judge Joe Brown is coming from, and her name came up in multiple trials, and just by him being a judge, having that, looking through that lens, I think that Judge Joe Brown, you know what I'm saying, like this lady name keep popping up and whatever, but I just don't think that, Kim Kardashian, like, why would they pardon her if she was, responsible for all of this? That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that she would have got a pardon. What made Kim Kardashian, she the one that said, hey, we need to get this lady a pardon. So if she was out here responsible for the crack epidemic, why give her a pardon, But I do have a flashback from the past of Kim Kardashian and Alice Marie Johnson as to why she thought that it would be a good idea for the president to pardon Miss Johnson. So let's cue that up. And let's go back 6 years ago to when all of this took place.
Our exclusive interview with Kim Kardashian West and Alice Marie Johnson. They met face to face for the very first time yesterday. That was 1 week after President Trump commuted Alice's life sentence. Her release, thanks in large part to Kim's effort to set Alice free.
I'm home.
Alice Marie Johnson is home.
Delta.
Sharing one of her favorite gospel songs with me. Special moments like these with her family, nearly 22 years in the making. You never gave up.
Never.
Not a day.
Not a day.
Not on the worst day.
Not on the worst day.
Wow. In 1997, Alice was sentenced to life in prison without parole for her role in a drug trafficking operation in the Memphis area. It was a first-time nonviolent offense. That came after Alice faced tough moments in her life, including, she says, divorce, job loss, and the death of her youngest son.
It's a darkness of the soul. It's something unimaginable. You know, I know that many people experience tragedy and they don't get involved in illegal activities.
So I want to say this just right quick. So she went through a very dark time in her life, you know, financially, and then she lost her child. And, you know, when you're going through things, you know, you make bad decisions. And she probably at that point got involved in something that, you know, she was trying to get us some extra money to pay off some things, and probably had to bury her child, bury her son. And, you know, hey, let me just, you know, bust a couple swerves right quick. It ended up changing her life for the rest of her life. And I think that I don't see this lady just looking at her and judging how, you know, her mannerism and how she talking. I'm having a hard time believing that she was some sort of queen pin that was organizing hits on people all across, you know what I'm saying, the Midwest and the South back in the 90s. I'm having a hard time believing that. Made some bad decisions. I believe after 20 years, whatever you did and you didn't pull the trigger, then, you know, you should have a second chance. That's just me. Let's continue.
My house was being foreclosed on. I had to file for bankruptcy. I couldn't really even provide for the things that my children needed.
I think we really all are one bad decision away from disaster, all of us. The first day you made that bad decision, you decided to get involved in this drug ring. Did you know what you were getting into?
No, I knew what was going on. But I thought that what I was doing was just such a minor thing. But I'm not trying to excuse myself, Hoda. I want to make that clear, because I did make that choice to do what I did. But sometimes you make excuses for your actions. And before you know it, it's deeper in, further down.
Alice's case caught the attention of Kim Kardashian West. In October 2017, she shared Alice's story on Twitter, saying, "This is so unfair."
At first, I just retweeted it, and then I sent it to my attorney. I said to her, is there anything we can do? Can we, you know, hire different attorneys? Like, what are the options here? What can we do?
After being incarcerated for 20 years, how well did you know the name Kim Kardashian?
I didn't. I did not know her name. I didn't know Kim. As soon as I found out who she was, I started getting every magazine I could find. I started reading everything that I could about her, and everyone was amazed, and I was amazed too.
So you retweeted, and some people would have said that was great. 60 million people now know. Way to go, Kim. But you weren't done after that retweet. Why did you decide to take it another step further?
It became this mission that I just didn't want to give up. I think to some people it might seem like, okay, Kim made a phone call to the president, showed up. We had been in talks and working on this for 7 months, and it wasn't an instant thing.
So Kim, you're gonna go all the way to the White House. Okay.
Yeah.
First call you make, though, who do you call first?
I called Ivanka, and we had a really great conversation about women and wanting to help each other. And I knew that she would have understood Alice. And she immediately was so receptive and so great.
That chat led to an Oval Office meeting with President Trump 2 weeks ago, coincidentally, on Alice's birthday.
I was like, I can't believe we're in the Oval Office. This is crazy. This is just insane. Just the history that in this one room, it was overwhelming in the most amazing way.
So was the president there yet, or were you waiting?
Yes,
he was there.
was at his desk.
Okay, so did you try to break the ice with anything, or?
Yeah, well, I first said that I am here because I really want to know why you kicked Chloe off The Apprentice.
And that was the first thing that I said. And he laughed and it broke the ice. And then we got focused and we spoke about Alice. And I explained to him where I found her, why I believe in her, how people deserve second chances. And immediately, I mean, the president had compassion for her right away. He felt that it was the right thing to do.
1 week after that Oval Office meeting, Alice was released from prison. It was Kim Kardashian West who called Alice with the good news.
I believe she said, you can go home.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can go home.
You can go home?
You can go home now. Are you ready to go home? When she said that, I went into full-fledged Pentecostal holy dance. I started screaming and jumping. People were listening. I'm telling you, I was dancing, I was jumping, I was screaming, I was doing everything.
Kim, what did it sound like from your end?
Well, at first I thought she knew because the news was starting to break and we had to get her on the phone. And I said, wait, you don't know? And she was like, no, what? And I was like, you're going home. And screams and cries. And we all just cried on the phone.
But it was not until yesterday the two women met face to face for the first time.
I love this woman.
Love this lady. How do you even begin to say thank you? I was thinking that. Like, how?
Thank you is not big enough. I think I have to walk it out. I have to walk my thank you out. I have to live it out for her, for my family, for the supporters.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, Kim, but Alice prays for you and Kanye. Show her.
Your picture moves around. My favorite picture.
In her Bible.
In my Bible. Right now, my prayer focus for you was in Psalm 105, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. Kim has been anointed to do this, and no one better not touch her, even with their mouth.
Kanye, your family, your mom, everybody, were they on board when you started this journey, Kim?
My family's always really supportive. There might have been people around like, are you sure you should go to the White House? Maybe you shouldn't go. To me, this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with people.
You have been open about disagreeing with the president politically. It's not a secret, but you're saying you can still go in there and fight for something that's right.
Absolutely. And I hope maybe this inspires more people to talk to the people in power, that you can have an effect over them and for the greater good of other people.
The president has.
Let's pause that right there. And I think we can stop that right there. I think that Kim Kardashian actually, and that's from 6 years ago, by the way. Kim Kardashian said something that was monumental to me. President Trump and Kim Kardashian were polar opposites politically. But when it came down to do something, they reached across the aisle. Trump was open, Kim was open, and they made that jail cell open for Miss Alice Marie Johnson to come home. Despite how critical Kim was of Trump, they made that happen. After Obama said, "Hey, I'm not partnering." She tried 3 times. Now, in response to what Judge Joe Brown said, that's terrible, But from looking and observing this woman, I don't see that from her. I could be wrong. She could be putting on, you know what I'm saying? Putting on a face for the place. You know what I'm saying? To be in the race. But at the end of the day, I don't see that. That's not what I get out of her. Not my taste. I don't taste that from her. What I get from her is a lady that was in a bad circumstance and made a bad decision trying to get up out of it. And she served 21 years for it. And she was able and blessed, obviously a God-fearing woman, and God made a way for her. I hear what Judge Joe Brown saying, but I think that was circumstantial evidence. But like I said, Judge Joe Brown is looking at it through the lens of a judge, right? He looking at it like, hey, your name keep popping up in all these trials in my courtroom. I'm looking at all this testimony. I'm listening to all these people implicate you and all this stuff here, which she probably was on the phone doing a little bit too much. I seriously doubt that lady level of involvement was orchestrating hits. I'm gonna tell you another reason why I don't believe that, because when Trump pardoned her, you would have had some type of resistance from the community. She from Memphis. People from Memphis, they very vocal people. If she was a hazard to the community, you would have had some pushback on that. But she got zero pushback from the community and was able to come home comfortably. And now she has, not only it's been over half a decade, she's got a position. And the only person that I heard was Judge Joe Brown said that was a mistake. But he had, and on his defense, he has heard her name come up in 6 separate trials that were heinous, that were basically responsible for the crack epidemic in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So I get where he coming from too. But what say you? You know what I'm saying? I gave y'all a nice amount of content this morning. You got, man, first of all and foremost, RIP to Larissa Thompson. You know, my condolences out to the family, her children. That was just terrible to know that somebody's that wasn't supposed to have a body in America committed that. How tragic is that? And we've seen this time and time again, you know, with people that ain't even supposed to be here taking the life of American citizens. And the media, especially liberal media, don't want to talk about it. That's why I'm going to make sure I talk about it. I'm going to make sure I talk about it on Voices for the Voiceless. You know, because we need to, you know, highlight the people that are being forgotten, that lost their life due to nonsense. You know, so rest in peace to Larissa Thompson. Then we had McDonald's in Chicago leaving. You know, I'm very critical of the politics in Chicago. And Trump's pardons are, Trump's pardons are, yeah, what? She was Lady Heroin or somebody? But yeah, man, it's the boy Jay Taylor. Whatever you feel, drop it in the comments. Peace and blessings. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. One love.